What is the most beautiful car ever built? A lot of cars are really cool, like a McLaren F1 LM or a Diablo GT, but they're not necessarily beautiful the way an Aston Martin DB5 is or a pontoon Fender Testarossa. Some of these cars are just bite the back of your hand good looking, but to me, the most beautiful car ever made is a little bit off the beaten path. It is the R230 Mercedes SL. You know, a lot of these cars we talk about as being beautiful are really old and really significant and really valuable, and this isn't necessarily those things, but no car has ever stopped me in my tracks the way, for the US, the first model year was 2003, an SL55 looks to me. I think it is spectacular, I think it is gorgeous, and it was such a departure from the R129 before it. I don't know that a car could ever look better, and 20 years later, it still looks brand new. But I asked my friends for their thoughts, and this is what they said.
I think the Miura SV is the most beautiful car ever made. It's the line, the hips. It's spectacular. I think you could park it next to any car and it makes the other car look ugly.
When you build a car with your own hands, it's always beautiful. When you build a car with your best friends and your family over 3 years and it finally rolls onto a racetrack, it's the most beautiful car ever made. My 1970 Toyota Corona, the Soprona. It may not be pretty, but it is beautiful.
You could say the most beautiful car in the world is this, a 2009 Aston Martin DBS. This one has a manual. It is in Casino Royale spec, and to me, it is my money no object dream car.
Honestly, it's more than just looks that make a car sexy to me. It's also the sound. I'm going to say the Pagani Zonda R, hands down, sexiest car around.
So I'm not an expert like a lot of the guys here, but when I think about beautiful cars, the brand that comes to mind for me is Mercedes. Something like the 300 SL Gullwing is just gorgeous. And I mean, they've got a bunch of others like it. Even when you get to modern cars, you'll see it track days on the street. The AMG GT is a car that is built for purpose. Everything on it's functional. And I mean, it just looks the part. So I'd say even now, Mercedes is building really beautiful cars and maybe at some point, the most beautiful ever.
I've got to go with the 1967 Toyota 2000 GT. This stunning collaboration between Yamaha and Toyota was built to take on the likes of the Jaguar E-Type and the Porsche 911. Ironically, when it would hit dealerships, the Toyota would cost more than either of those vehicles. It's become known as Japan's first supercar and arguably changed the automotive landscape forever.
This is going to be very predictable for me, but I think the most beautiful car of all time is the Lamborghini Countach in S and QV guise. That means fender flares, wing, phone dials, but no anniversary body kit.
Hey there, VINwiki. Late Night Jimbo from Savage Garage here. And in terms of what I think the most beautiful car ever built is, it's the Dedamaso P72. But I saw it at Monterey Car Week in 2019, and I remember seeing it. It was just one of those cars that made you rethink how two-door supercars should be designed and built. It was just a very, very beautiful car. The body, the interior, everything. But yeah, that's what I think.
Everyone who thinks the Jaguar XKE is the most beautiful car ever made is wrong. It's this, the 1953 through 1955 Corvette, designed by Harley Earl to be beautiful first and a sports car second. Everything about the car is designed to look good and be pleasing to the eye. From its swooping lines to its rocket fin taillights, the car doesn't even have door handles because those would have distracted from its beautiful design. And the beauty doesn't stop there. It's gorgeous on the interior as well, with its giant steering wheel and little tiny gauges that go all the way across the dashboard. Sure, they're hard to read, but it doesn't matter because they look amazing. Now, the performance was there too. This was one of the fastest cars you could get in the early 1950s, but none of that matters because the point is this car was designed to be a rolling work of art, and it still is. And that's why this Corvette is the most beautiful car ever made.
My personal favorite is the Ferrari 330 P4. Although from a purity perspective, if you've ever seen an Eagle E-Type Roadster, that thing is probably the most beautiful automotive thing I've ever seen. Push for an answer that isn't a race car or a very special, one of kind of a thing, I would say maybe the Ferrari 250 GT Berlinetta Lusso or the Jaguar E-Type.
The most beautiful car ever made? Well, the Flying Moose Volvo 740, of course. But for real, late 30s, the swoopy fenders, the art in the design, and the 1936 Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic. The supercharged straight 8, 170 horsepower plus, aluminum bodied, swoopy. The whole car flows by. It doesn't just drive by.
A lot of these guys are going to have different views on what the most beautiful car in the world is, and you got the E-Type, the Miura, which are beautiful cars. But I'm a little bit younger than them and dealt with all kinds of different other aspects of the car world. And to me, it's got to be the BMW Z8, which was styled after the BMW 507. It goes back to being 8 years old watching the James Bond movies when BMW tried to kick Aston Martin out, and when Pierce Brosnan's driving that silver Z8, that just always set in my mind. So, which is why I think the BMW Z8 is one of the most beautiful cars in the world.
What is the most beautiful car ever built? Ferrari, LaFerrari. I mean, that's easily, hands down, the best looking car ever made.
The most beautiful car ever built. Slightly older, I'd go the Mercedes 300 SL, the Gullwing. I think the rear 3/4 angle is absolutely perfect. The proportions, such a beautiful car. And then slightly newer, I'd go the Pagani Huayra. I think the Huayras are just unbelievably gorgeous. The carbon fiber, the whole car is a work of art and engineering, and I absolutely love them.
In my opinion, the most beautiful car ever is a Trans Am. Not just any Trans Am, the 4th gen, 1998 to 2002 WS6 Trans Am. That is the one.
This one right here, the Alfa Romeo 8C Competizione. Everything from just the gorgeous overall proportions to the finer details like the headlights, the modern take on the traditional Alfa grille, the cloverleaf wheels. Then you go to the inside and you have the gorgeous basket weave leather, aluminum carbon fiber everywhere. Just stunning. Bellissimo.
My mind immediately goes to a Ford GT40, but you wouldn't have a GT40 without Lola motors. And I guess the car that inspired the GT40 would be a Lola MK6 GT. And if we're talking about Lolas, then it has to be the T70. So T70, the most beautiful car ever built.
My answer is going to be very different to this question because I'm sure all of my fellow panelists are going to pick something old or traditionally beautiful. But for me, it's the 2014 through 2018 Aston Martin Vanquish. It's just automotive perfection as far as design is concerned for me. It is proportionally beautiful. The lines are great. It's modern without being overstyled. And quite frankly, to me, it's perfect.
The Lola T70.
What is the most beautiful car of all time? That's a friggin' tough choice between the Corvette C1 and the Corvette C2 and the Corvette C5 and the Corvette C6, but I think it's gotta be the Corvette C5 because my Corvette is best Corvette.
With so many beautiful coach-built cars like the Auburn Speedsters and Delahaye's and the round door Rolls, it's so hard to pick one. But for me, it's going to be Cadzilla, which is a custom 48 Cadillac built by Boyd Coddington. It's the only car that was of somebody else's design other than mine that I've ever been inspired to make a painting of. It even inspired some of the custom work I did on my Harley. It's just long and low and cool and just a special car from every angle.
We all know that Enzo Ferrari once saw a Jaguar E-Type and said that he thought that was the most beautiful car ever built. I disagree. I'm going to go with the 300 SL Gullwing, the Mercedes, and that is just art on wheels with that beautiful long bonnet, the Gullwing doors, which set the precedent for car makers today, and just how beautiful that car overall is. 300 SL Gullwing.
The most beautiful car ever built. The first car that came to mind to me was the McLaren F1. It's stunning. It is what a supercar looks like. I think there's others that maybe have that form before it, but the McLaren F1, it's beauty in every way. It's just something that's totally awesome to look at, and that's beauty to me.
Now, beauty is something that's in the eye of the beholder. For instance, I like this because I'm weird and I like weird, horrible, oddball, rusty cars. However, when it comes to the best looking car ever, it has to be the Tommaso Mangusta. Now, Mangusta means mongoose in Italian because it was the car that, in theory, killed the Cobra. Now, it wasn't that fast. It had a 302 in it, but it looks amazing. It is the cartoon villain of cars. In fact, when they had the cars in Kill Bill, that was the car that Bill drove. It's an amazing looking thing with a flip up, like a middle hinged rear hood, and it's a cartoon. It's a cartoon car. It's an amazing looking thing that realistically, I have no idea how they designed it, but its beauty is outstanding.
When it comes to beauty, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But when it comes to the most beautiful car in the world, that's going to be the Ferrari F40. For me, I love a purpose-built car, and that car was purpose-built. It was an absolute performance machine, 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, 201 mile per hour top speed. It was a beautiful car designed by Pininfarina, engineered by Ferrari, and one of the last new cars to be signed off by Enzo Ferrari before his unfortunate passing in 1988. The Ferrari F40 is over 30 years old, and it looks better than any car designed today.
What's the most beautiful car of all time?
All-time 288 GTO. I love them. I love the flares, and like, I remember when they came out when I was a little small child, and I just thought that's the coolest thing ever.
I'd have to say the Aston Martin DB9, DBS, that generation of Aston Martin with Ian Callum and Henrik Fisker. They just did a wonderful job designing that car. It looks good from every angle. It looks good as a coupe, convertible, whether it's standard DB9, DBS.
I went back and forth on this question quite a bit, but came down to the Maserati A6G 2000 with a Zagato body. They made 20 of them from 1954 to 1956.
So the most beautiful car in the world, in my opinion, would have to be the Lamborghini Diablo. I love the sharp lines, I love the look of the back end of the car, how it stands out farther than the front, and it's just been a dream car of mine since I was a young kid.
I'd have to say it's the 1977 and 1978 Pontiac Trans Am, specifically the one made popular by the movie Smokey and the Bandit. Now this car is absolutely beautiful, even by today's standards. I had a resto mod. All I did was lower it a couple inches, put on some 17-inch replica wheels, and it looked absolutely beautiful. The lines are absolutely timeless.
Well, I love too many cars to be able to actually choose, but yeah, the Mercedes-Benz 300 SL came to my mind because the design is not too bad. And especially in this color, purple, I think we can say this is definitely the most beautiful car ever produced. What do you think?
And actually the two cars that come to mind are the Jaguar D-Type race car. The one with the, that fared over on the passenger cockpit, had the single driver, the aviation-like windscreen, with or without the fin. But it's a beautiful car, it's perfectly proportioned, it's organic, it gives you being live like an animal. It's an amazing race car, and also sounds very good too. The other one I think is very pretty in a way is the Fagoni and Falaschi bodied Delahaye, going back to the 1930s. When you look at that, it's a beautiful, different time period, a little more decorative in style, but very flowing and organic, beautiful lines. So for me, the most beautiful cars ever built were before computer design.
So my choice is the 2019 Ferrari Monza SP. I do prefer the SP2 over the SP1 because SP2 is a two-seater and the overall design looks better balanced with two seats.
The most beautiful car ever built to me is the Jaguar XJ13 from 1966. It's a V12 mid-engine, 2,200 pound car, prototype race car. They designed it to race Le Mans against Ford and Ferrari in the late 60s, but due to rules issues, they were not able to race it. Unfortunately, it was also crashed during testing later. Jaguar had to rebuild it. There's still only that one, which is now rebuilt. However, several companies have made replicas, some of which are really nice. You should also check out the Victory by Design video if you want to hear the amazing V12. It sounds as good as it looks.
What's going on, guys? We're all hands on deck building the all-new Rabbit's used cars. But Ed Bowen sent me a text, said, Rabbit, what's the prettiest car ever made? Well, I'm a little weird here. I love the Ferrari 365, and I know it's a super uber rare car, but the Ferrari 365 Daytona that I like the most is the one that's the fake. I love the Miami Vice Ferrari Daytona. I think that car is great because, I'll be honest with you, I think it's the perfect Ferrari. You got to think about it. It's got all those Ferrari looks, and it's sitting on top of a Corvette. We'll catch you next time, guys.
I'd like to thank Autotempest for supporting this video. Autotempest gives you the power to search nationally, not only over the major listing sites that we've always talked about, but did you know that you can search Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist on a national level? After you perform your search on Autotempest, scroll down and they've got a way for you to open up tabs to all the different areas geographically around the country. It makes it so much easier to find in the deep dark corners of the internet the exact car that you are looking for. So please check out Autotempest now at the link in the description below.